With another crazy day in artificial intelligence, there have been some crazy ideas floating around and some crazy stories that you might just want to not miss. So let's take a look at some of the crazy stories that happened today. So one of the craziest stories that actually happened was Joni Ive and Sam Altman's AI device startup in funding talks with Emerson and Thrive. So it's pretty crazy because if you haven't been paying attention, Sam Altman, OpenAI, the company, have been in talks with Emerson, and it's pretty crazy because I think he used to work at Apple. Yeah, so Joni Ive used to work at Apple, and essentially he is starting a company with Sam Altman to disrupt the AI device space. So we can see that this article covers this because we have covered this before, but it gives an updated, timeline because now they are in funding talks to, I guess you could say maybe they know exactly what the product is going to be, and now they're in funding talks so that they can, source parts, get hires, get salaries, and just get people working on it. So it says a mysterious company started by former Apple designer Joni Ive and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman to launch an artificial intelligence powered personal device has started funding talks with some of the biggest names in venture capital. The startup has discussed deals with Emerson Collective and Thrive Capital, a major investor in OpenAI, whose conversational AI could theoretically power some of the device features. And I wouldn't be surprised if this happened either via API or via an on-device Android potentially. Ive wants to raise up to $1 billion in funding, said a second person who's involved in the dollars. And I think $1 billion in funding is actually pretty crazy. But then again, recently other companies have actually raised quite a lot of money for their AI products too. So now, if you have been paying attention, there has been a company called Humane, and they've actually received some investment from OpenAI. You can see that Humane, and I'm talking about Humane because they're, I wouldn't say competitors to OpenAI, because if OpenAI have been as smart as they have been, they're likely going to develop, I wouldn't say an entirely different product, but one that serves a different market need in a better way. So Humane AI has raised over $200 million from investors including Microsoft, Tiger Global, and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Salesforce CEO. Now, they actually did raise around $200 million. Allegedly, it was $241 million to be exact. But this was actually a $700 device. Many of you guys know about this, but essentially it's just an AI pin that's on your coat or on your jacket or whatever. You just plop it on there like a kind of badge, and it has an eye that can see, and then of course you can talk to it, and it has some like 3D hologram thing that you can put onto your hand. It is relatively expensive, but I'm guessing since if they only have a couple of thousand orders, they can actually make quite a lot of money, and since they're going for this Apple style, they can be really profitable. Now, the reason I talk about this is because I'm wondering where OpenAI are going to put themselves on the market. Are they going to position it as a rather cheap product like they did with the Rabbit R1 device, which was a really cool device that I covered on the channel, and it was actually completely groundbreaking? Or are they going to go for this Apple-esque way where it's really expensive? Now, in terms of the valuation of the company, I think it's important to compare it because Humane's valuation from 2019 to 2013 is actually pretty incredible because their device has been in the works for quite some time now, and I'm guessing that the valuation jumped around the time the AI was launched. And I'm guessing you can see right here that it is valued at $850 million, which means that if OpenAI and Tony Jive are looking to raise, $1 billion, it doesn't seem that crazy, although it does initially at first. If this other company is worth $850 million, I'm guessing it doesn't seem that crazy if OpenAI are looking to raise that same amount. And then, of course, it says here, some investors who aren't in active talks with the new company caution that it could be difficult for some venture firms to back. With Ive and Altman attached, it is likely to draw a high initial price, and yet the company is incredibly young with no product in an unproven category. And that is pretty true because the problem is right now we are in an area where these AI products, whilst yes, Rabbit device pretty much sold out like 6 batches, and I even bought one. I know a lot of people that bought one, but the problem is that until we get them in our hands and until we use them on a day-to-day basis, we won't know if the market is proven. Right now the sales are there, but it could be a fad because in the future with certain AI systems, they might just become obsolete. Now, I think with Sam Altman, I would definitely be investing if I could, but these are private investments and private investors, so you don't really have an option. But the point is that although it's difficult for some venture firms to back, I think it's important for people to realize that this is a crazy opportunity because Sam Altman, his company is building arguably the most powerful AI on the planet. And I'm sure that when he builds that AI device, he's going to be thinking about what the company is also building in mind. So I'm sure whatever physical company they are building, however much profit they're going to be making on that end, because, OpenAI right now, I don't think they're making money, but I'm guessing that there's going to be some kind of synergy between those products. So I guess this, new products line, I'm sure it's going to work seamlessly with OpenAI's software. And it says, building the AI device, which people in the discussion say wouldn't look like a phone, would as a dizzying array of projects Altman is pursuing beyond OpenAI. They include a separate company that would develop and manufacture server chips to power AI, possibly in competition with NVIDIA. And, he privately said OpenAI would own a piece of that firm and would be a customer of it. So, yeah, this article also does talk about Humane, and it also does talk about the Rabbit device. And of course, it actually does talk about, how they want to embed the technology in smart glasses and other wearable devices. And I think recently I've seen these Meta glasses actually do very, very well. From what I've seen, the product is great. It's sufficient. It doesn't look weird. People already use sunglasses. And I think one of the hardest things about AI wearables is the fact that the form factor is strange. And when I mean that, I mean like, you have to get people used to using something new, and nobody wants to be the first person to try it unless you're like super famous and you can set a trend. And the problem is, and I'm going to show you a tweet that I spoke about recently, and it basically someone was saying that all AI devices kind of look the same, and they did have a point. So you can see right here, someone said introducing Tone, a $299 AI wearable that acts as your second brain, distilling your lived experiences into a personal AI to give you superpowers. And this isn't the only device like this. If you've been on Twitter, there are so many devices like this, and this isn't to discredit this device or say absolutely anything that is wrong with the device, but the point is that it's quite interesting because it depends on how people are going to receive this. I mean, if I'm asking you guys, would you be wearing this? I know I wouldn't be the first to wear this because I wouldn't say it looks weird, but I just wouldn't be the first to wear it. I'd rather wait to see other people wear it and then I'd be wearing it because I think it does look weird. But with like Meta's glasses, for example, everyone wears sunglasses in the summer, and you really cannot tell that there's anything there. So it's already something you have. So I'm going to wonder if it's going to be like a jacket or like just an app, or I don't know. I think one of the most interesting things is definitely going to be the form factor because I think that is really, really interesting. Then of course we had together Waymo and Uber are making all electric fully autonomous delivery starting today. And they said Uber Eats customers in the Metro Phoenix area may get matched with a fully autonomous Waymo car to get the items that they crave. So this is something that is pretty crazy because, as autonomous driving is something that has been, I guess you could say mocked by the AI industry for quite some time, considering the fact that it was touted by Elon Musk as to be something that was going to be coming in 2020, then 2021, then 2022. But I think this right here is showing us that, full self-driving is actually completely possible. And if you haven't been paying attention to what Waymo have been doing, they've actually been able to, do this completely in the Phoenix area. I've seen multiple reviews of people in the Phoenix area stating that using a Waymo as a taxi is rather efficient. Now, you might be thinking, why? Wouldn't you want to talk to the driver? That's not actually true. You see, some people are introverts like myself, and they just prefer to get into a car, go to their destination, and not have to interact with anyone as well. And I think it's going to be kind of fascinating to see if companies adopt this in the future. And I know this one is just Uber Eats, which is another thing, but I'm thinking that is this in the future going to replace drivers, and is it going to replace people who drive the cars? I kind of think it will, because we do have a situation where wages are very expensive. And if you have an electric car, which by today's standards are currently very cheap, and you're able to run these easily, effectively, and once you map out the city, you pretty much don't get that much accidents. I mean, it seems that this could be another career area. Well, not really a career, but another, side hustle or gig for people to earn more money that could be potentially going away. Now, you can see here that there was also this tweet by Linus Ekenstam, and he actually tweeted that Uber is dead. He said, "My reflections on Waymo. I've been in San Francisco for just over a week, during which I've taken 7 rides with Waymo, a similar number with Uber, and a few with full self-driving with Teslas." And he said, "My journey to SFO via Uber was alarming. The driver veered out of the lane multiple times, nearly crashed on the ramp, seemingly vying for a 1-star rating or to genuinely scare me." He said, "Conversely, my experiences with Waymo were virtually flawless. If you don't consider overly cautious driving a fault. I experienced a minor hiccup when we got stuck behind parked cars because the vehicle thought they were queuing at a red light, quickly resolving the situation, which was rather amusing. And then he said, level 5 autonomous vehicles are poised to revolutionize the movement of people and goods. And those are the ones that can really do the full self-driving. So he says, with the advent of personal transportation becoming increasingly affordable, sending anything from point A to point B using self-driving electrical vehicle will be increasingly easy. And he says one of Waymo's standout features is privacy. Riding in an Uber often means being subjected to the driver's loud group chats on some app, making the journey neither quiet nor private. And of course, like I said, this is a key point, okay? And this tweet got over, I'm going to continue reading it, but it got over 5.8 million views. And this is not like LLMs and AI, but it's still a sector of AI that we should pay attention to, because I mean, what if you stick your head in the sand, you don't pay attention to AI, one day you wake up, there's just like all these driverless cars coming everywhere, and you're like, oh, how did that happen? So it says Waymo also reimagined the concept car without the need for a driver. We can eliminate the front console, which also reduces the weight, and you can remove the steering wheel. This opens up the possibilities for passenger seats to be reoriented, perhaps facing backwards, or the vehicle to become a mobile living room. Tomorrow's vehicle designs will be drastically different from today's, and I do think that is going to be something that's rather interesting. But I wonder if there will be some kind of regulation that means that in any case, someone will need to be able to take control of a Waymo, because maybe just a safety measure, just like like a backdoor, just in case the Waymo gets hacked or something. I'm guessing there might just be a safety measure where a human can take control. And it said, as cars become more self-driving, we could see a reduction in the amount of cars parked from 99% of their lifetime to perhaps just 25%. And the reason this is so fascinating is because we could have a city where, let's say, for example, and I'm going to discuss this more in another announcement, is that, as these autonomous cars gain more and more traction, as it becomes more and more normal, there are less parked cars on the street because people are just using their cars and they're renting them out, which is something that Elon Musk has discussed. So let me know what you actually think about this. And Naval, famous investor, actually also said a car with the driver is the new horse and a buggy. So it will be interesting. I mean, I actually enjoy driving. I actually enjoy cars. I think cars are really, really cool. And I don't think that Uber is actually going to die. I think Uber is going to benefit a lot from this. But it will be interesting to see that once Waymo manages to map out other states and manages to do other things correctly, how it does. But don't forget, if you didn't pay attention before, a lot of states, I don't think they're going to have Waymos because if you remember, I actually spoke about Waymos getting destroyed in certain areas. So I do know that if this does manage to cut out drivers, we could see potentially some people trying to revolt against this, maybe doing things to the Waymos, just popping their tires, destroying their cars. So that will be another interesting part of this that I will be paying attention to. Now, something crazy is that Elon Musk said Tesla Robotaxi unveil on the 8th of the 8th. So this is a giant announcement, because this is going to be absolutely incredible, because he's basically launching something like we just talked about with Waymo. So we can see here, this article actually breaks it down a lot more. Like I said, I'll always leave a link in the description. But essentially, the Robotaxi is a next generation self-driving vehicle that Musk said at an investor event in 2019 could allow owners, like I said before, to make money by renting out their vehicles, operating an autonomous taxi service in which the company would also take a commission. So that is, like I said, is going to be something interesting, because this one gives drivers the ability to rent out their cars for whatever reason. Maybe they just want to make extra money. They buy a Tesla, they rent it out, they make money from it. And we have all these Teslas driving around fully autonomously. And like I said before, robo-taxis have been hit with delays, suggesting 2019s they'd be operating by 2020. And of course, I think this criticism is a fair one. And he says sometimes I'm not on time. But I think with technology like this, I don't mind if they're on time. I genuinely don't mind if they're delaying it, because the reason they're delaying this is because of safety reasons. Clearly because of safety reasons. If they, put this out too early, I mean, people are going to die. Like, I know that sounds overly exaggerated, but people will die. Crashes will happen. And you can't risk human lives, because if that happens, then you're going to have even more regulations. There are going to be even more delays. There are going to be even more lawsuits. I mean, it's going to be a really, really bad thing. So I'm guessing that just delaying it until it's completely perfect does make sense. And you have to think about this like the airplane. Imagine if the airplane wasn't regulated as much as it is, and imagine if they were just falling out the sky and they kept delaying it. I'm sure you would have been like, well, I'm glad they delayed it. So I think it will be interesting to see how this actually does occur. What's crazy is that he did say autonomous car would last 11 years and drive 1 million miles, making the company and the car's operators $30,000 in profit each year. I got to be honest, I think $30,000 in profit each year is a bit of an exaggeration, because I know how much cars cost to run, and I know that whilst electric vehicles are actually surprisingly very, very good at doing high mileage, like I've seen so many high mileage Teslas, I think 30,000 profit in each year is pretty crazy, considering you're gonna have maintenance, insurance, and depending on where the car is. I mean, $30,000 in profit. That is a pretty aspirational, considering you're also going to have to account for the price of the car too. But I think August 8 will be an interesting time. I'm wondering if they're going to be using a kind of baby AGI system in order to control the Tesla Robotaxis, because Elon Musk previously did say you're going to need some kind of AGI level system if you're able to do that. So it will be interesting to see if that is something to do with XAI, because I would want to know. So I saw this tweet, which was rather fascinating, and it says, we're about to see an AI compete against humans on a reality show for Netflix's The Circle. And it says contestants can't see each other, they communicate via text and suspected catfishes, so they vote them out. So it's pretty crazy here. We have literally 12 guests and 1 AI, and it seems, no, in fact we got 10 guests, I can't even count properly, we got 10 guests here, and it seems that there's an AI robot. Now I'm wondering what software they're going to use. I'm guessing they're going to use ChatGPT, but I am hoping so much that they don't use GPT 3.5, and I'm hoping that whatever instructions they give this AI system, they kind of tune it to be something that sounds as human as possible, and it has been tested a lot, because I think today's AI systems are good enough to kind of pass whatever test that they do put on this. But let me know if you'll be watching on this, because I think this is going to be rather fascinating. I mean, it's one of those ones where you don't need to see the person, you don't need to hear them, and you're only going to be communicating via text. So it's pretty crazy to see what's going on. I mean, if an AI is going to be able to complete this show, I guess it would mean that an AI has fully passed the Turing test. So that would be kind of fascinating. Imagine if the AI wins the show. I don't know. I think it's going to be kind of fascinating to see how this develops. And if you're someone that is intrigued by what AI is able to do, this is definitely going to be a show for you, because we haven't really seen any TV shows take really advantage of artificial intelligence in a fun, interesting way. And although this is a little bit dystopian, I think it's kind of fascinating to see, in a real-time environment, how much it can convince a human that it is real.
The key insight that is about to happen, that I don't think anyone really understands, is that you're going to be able, any human, good, bad, old, young, evil, whatever, will be able to have an idea and say, build this for me. And it will produce the steps. So for example, the step could be go to Amazon and buy something,
Sure.
Right. Or in software, just construct it for you. We've never had a system in humans where every human had the ability to imagine something and having it built in front of them.
Right.
It is a complete change in human organization. Here's the key insight.
So we have Eric Schmidt here, the former CEO of Google, and he was basically saying that, in the future, it's going to be absolutely crazy, because the only thing that we're going to not be able to do is, do certain things in related to, I guess you could say, creativity. And what I mean by that is that the only limits to human creation are going to be creativity, because we've seen that right now, LLMs, we can pretty much ask them to write anything. We can ask them to write a poem in the style of Shakespeare, in the style of Snoop Dogg. We can ask it to make it, funnier, make it, poetic, make it sad, make it happy. We can do that on a writing aspect. But what happens when we can build applications, we can build websites, we can build businesses with a bunch of agents collaborating effectively, 1,000 of them all working together, managing to build something really quickly, building and publishing an app whilst you sleep. I mean, the true level of human, creativity is only going to be the bottleneck. And even then, we're going to have other AI systems that are completely creative, where you can even use knowledge graphs and all these kind of different things in order to be able to supercharge that creativity. So I think the next stage here is going to be really, really interesting to see the amount of kind of businesses that we do get, and the kind of scale of things that are going to happen. So I think that clip there was one that, you wanted to see.
Ambidex is the coolest robot that closely resembles the structure of the human arm. It is incredibly lightweight and flexible, thanks to its unique cable-driven mechanisms. As a result, one Ambidex arm weighs just 2.6 kilograms, even lighter than that of the average person. It can, therefore, perform fast movements while safely interacting with people. People can high-five the robot at a speed of 5 meters per second without any risk of getting injured. The Ambidex arm has 7 degrees of freedom, the same as a human arm, and can learn many complex tasks. Dicing sweet potatoes, playing ping pong, assembling furniture, and more. Using the haptic device, we teach the robot how humans perform tasks, until the day robots can safely coexist with people and replace our work.
So yeah, that was the Ambidex robot. And one thing that I really did actually like about this robot was simply the fluidity of the robot. I'm not sure, how it was driven. It has these cable-driven mechanisms and is only weighing 2.6 kilogram on each arm, which means it's remarkably light, lighter than the average person. And whilst it did show us that it was teleoperated, what it does actually do show us for the future is that when autonomous robotic systems are more easily and more readily available, the kind of systems that we will be able to deploy in these kind of robots means that we're really actually going to have, fully autonomous deployed robots pretty much in so many different industries. Because if these robots are able to do this via teleoperation, I mean, once they're fully autonomous and able to do certain things, I think the entire world is going to get shocked because of that, because I think that will be the monumental moment where a lot of tasks are going to be done by robots that maybe we really didn't think before. Because, when robots can do all of this in a really smooth and really quick manner, it only takes, a few breakthroughs before they can start doing this stuff in a really smoother manner than humans, and even quicker and more precise. And I think that moment is going to be one that does shock us. But for now, then there was this really awesome clip from Brett Addock where he actually talks about his plans for OpenAI with the Figure company, and he actually talks about the future of robotics.
What can you say about the OpenAI partnership? And obviously, it makes sense that if you want to communicate with robots with speech and you want them to have world model and reasoning.
Yeah, we're super excited to be working with OpenAI. They've been really great. They started out in robotics, and some of the team that's working on the project with us were from that period of time, which is really cool. At the highest level, we're working with OpenAI and building new AI models out for our robots to ship into commercial use cases. And what OpenAI brings is they have the best vision language model in the world, and they have the best team in the world to work on the implementation of that. And we're working with them on trying to do language reasoning on the robot. So think of this like two parts of the brain, or just the brain robot. We have a brain, like a centralized brain that you can talk to, and you can say, I need you to go fold the laundry. That brain will then build tasks. It'll say like, I need to go do this, this, and this. I need to go grab the hamper. We then build a path to go find the hamper. We go to grab it. Like OpenAI doesn't know how to grab it, doesn't know how to command the robot.
Mm-hmm.
So we come in where we've designed AI systems here at Figure that can command the motors and the hands and the rest of the system to be able to do that only with neural nets.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of like combining forces of like kind of we're doing like the low level reasoning, and they're doing like the language reasoning at the highest level.
Yep.
And we're combining those two together. And it's the more we spend time in this area, the more we feel it's needed to be able to do this at real scale. I don't think there's really a way to do this without a really intelligent VLM sitting at the top. We have now kicked off a process to be able to start integrating those and building new models from scratch. We put out a video a few weeks ago of working with them where we were basically doing speech reasoning. We could talk to the robot, it could talk back, it could ask what's in the scene, it could it could understand, through memory, like what happened in the past and implications it was making, going forward. And that was 13 days after the announcement. Over the next 6 or 12 months, we're really excited to be working on these custom models with them.